these four properties nail down this class of social quasi-orderings. If you want to know, special cases, immediate special cases are if your threshold function is linear. So this is just alpha of beta times this difference. You get something that's equivalent to the critical band principles that I mentioned earlier. If you supply this with weak inequalities for all possible differences. Another possibility is a constant threshold that simply doesn't depend on these sizes. It's a possibility, but they are, in terms of their properties, they are a bit less satisfactory. And in addition, of course, you get anything, okay, that's basically that's subadditive. Now that the class I just mentioned, the proportional, we call it proportional threshold critical level principles, can be characterized by adding replication invariance. You have any two take any two utility distributions, not necessarily the same dimension, replicate them, then the ranking of the two originals should be the same as the ranking of the replicated distributions. And that characterizes the proportional principles where H is a linear function, an increasing linear function. And moreover, in this case, this distinction doesn't have to be made because replication invariance by itself ensures that all inequalities have to be the same. They're either all weak inequalities or all strict inequalities. And again, that's an if and only if. And we can do something similar for the constant threshold principle. In that case, we have to use an axiom that's slightly less, or not slightly, a bit less intuitively appealing than replication invariance. We have to say something about what happens if we add the midpoint of the supremum and the infimum of a critical set to a given distribution. It can be done, but it's a little bit less satisfying. But in a way, we think it's okay because the principles themselves are less satisfying. So again, our main result is that these four properties are equivalent to this class, quasi-orderings. And again, you can specialize down to proportional or constant ones as well. And in the final part of the paper, we revisit some issues that have arisen in population ethics, such as the repugnant conclusion. There's another one proposed by Gustav Arrhenius. It says you should, if you add a number of people with negative utilities below neutrality, this should never be better than adding people, not necessarily the same number, with positive utilities. That's in the case of orderings. If we have completeness, the two of them are essentially impossible to reconcile because avoiding the repugnant conclusion forces you to have a positive critical level. Avoiding the sadistic conclusion forces you to have a zero critical level, so you can't have them both. In the case of quasi-orderings, you can, because the more non-comparability you have, the more potential you have to avoid unpleasantness. So, I mean, that's in a way not surprising, but what we do is we characterize all combinations that satisfy both. Well, I think time is pretty